I'm Madison Timmons.
And I'm JT Timmons.
And we're the co-creators of the hit podcast, The Most Haunted City on Earth.
Look, we love ghosts, but we also love true crime. So we here at Haunted City Studios decided to create From One to Wicked.
A true crime podcast with a killer twist. We'll investigate,
discuss,
then rate
the most brutal and devious crimes and the monsters who commit them.
On a scale from 1 to wicked. So sit back and kill some time with us.
And remember, next time you're walking down the street,
you might just be passing a perfect wicked 10. Hello and welcome back, y'all, to another episode of From One to Wicked. My name is Madison Timmons.
And I'm a really cute Pekingese.
You're a really cute Pekingese.
Yeah.
Did you see a Pekingese or something today? And
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, was it? So there's a Pekingese that JT and I are obsessed with because we keep tabs on all the animals
We
that
really do.
take walks around Savannah. Mm-hmm. And there is a Pekingese that walks around downtown, and her name is Peaky.
Peaky to Pekingese.
She's super cute.
Yeah, I love a good Pekingese.
Yeah.
They're so cute. But anyway, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So,
Murder.
Yeah. On a different note, so today we are going to be talking about the Delphi Murders. Mm-hmm. And you might recognize that name because it's kind of been all up in the news recently. Even though the crime happened back in 2017, it's been making headway because the actual trial was this year, actually started last month. So we'll get into all those details. But if you are watching this on YouTube, you might notice JT's going to be fiddling with some technology next to me because we are currently live waiting for the verdict to be released of whether Richard Allen was actually convicted of these murders.
Yep.
So hopefully by the end of this, we will have an answer.
We will have an answer, which is honestly kind of unique. Like,
Yeah.
I love the idea of like shooting a podcast. We don't know if he, did it or not, refreshing a page to see if he did it.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of crazy, right?
Exactly. And and so we have the Parajunkies live watching with us right now, or still have yet to decide what we're going to call you on the true crime front, y'all. But yeah, so it's pretty exciting to know because this might be our first zero if he doesn't get convicted.
Yeah, he will get a zero. Obviously, he won't. Yeah. He'll be disqualified. I guess.
He'll be disqualified.
And then
but we'll just have to rank the actual crime.
Whoever the man on the bridge was.
Yeah, the bridge man.
The bridge man.
The bridge guy is what they call him.
The bridge guy.
But yeah, so if you are new here, welcome everyone. First off, we do this podcast a little bit differently than some other true crime podcasts out there. Obviously, we're going to discuss all of the details of the crime. We're going to discuss the trial details as far as we are aware of at this current moment. And then we are going to rank this particular case on on 5 different categories. So first off, we've got brutality. Then we have premeditation. We've got motive. We've got difficulty of investigation, and we've got body count.
Sure do.
And we've had some pretty heavy hitters. So, we're trying to, as we go through this process, be a little bit more judicial, I guess, in our ranking, because we want to give all of these categories a 10 for every single case, but then that would ruin the fun of this.
Yeah.
So, but we also had the Parajunkies ranking at the end as well. And if you are listening on Spotify or YouTube after the episode, make sure to put your rankings for each category or just your total at the end in the comments so that we know what you gave them as well. Because it really does make it interesting to see what our collective total was.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So, right now I have IndieStar.com is doing live update for the announcement of the verdict. I have Google, just refreshing it every once in a while. I have X up, and I have Delphi verdict on latest. So it's I'll continue to refresh that, and we should know, again, Parajunkies, if you see it before I do, somehow I have like 3 million pages
Screens,
up, screens up, but if you see it before I do, comment.
Yeah, let us know.
Cool.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into it.
All right.
So we're going to start out on February 13th, 2017. That was when 13-year-old Abby and 14-year-old Libby were last seen alive. At 1:35 p.m. on February 13th, 2017, Abigail Joyce Abby is her nickname, Williams, and 14-year-old Liberty Rose Lynn Libby German were dropped off by German's older sister, Kelsey German, on County Road 300 North, east of the Hoosier Heartland Highway, which sounds like a country song.
That's quite the alliteration.
I know, Hoosier Heartland Highway. But the girls were hiking on the Monon High Bridge over Deer Creek among woodlands in remote Deer Creek Township. At 2:07 p.m., German posted a photo of Williams walking the bridge after this, they were not heard from again.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. They were reported missing at 5:30 p.m. that day after they had failed to meet German's father at 3:15 p.m. The families initially searched for the girls themselves before calling the police, which, I mean, makes sense.
Yeah.
You know? And I vaguely remember from when we watched the 2020 episode, the girls go out there a lot, and the family was very familiar with this particular trail.
Okay.
So they like scoured that trail of anywhere that the girls would be familiar. You know?
Sure.
So
Sure. I guess, yeah, it makes sense that they would be out there, because the first thing that I thought was like, why are these two young girls out in like the middle of the woods? Why are the parents not, you know?
I mean, think about it.
Yeah, if it's the middle, yeah. I guess if they're super familiar with it, that answers my question.
But also think about it, when we were kids, our parents would just drop us off and play. I would play in the woods with my friends and stuff. So, you know,
Yeah.
like it was just kind of a thing. And also, if you're living in a rural area, I mean, it makes sense, you know. But anyways, so authorities who quickly searched the area did not initially suspect foul play in the disappearance, but that would quickly change. Next day, on Valentine's Day of 2017, the search for Abby and Libby grew as law enforcement and volunteers assisted in the search for the teenagers on February 14, 2017. This would change when the bodies of the girls were found around noon that day, about half a mile east of the abandoned Monon High Bridge.
Okay.
The bodies were found on the north bank of Deer Creek. Both girls had their necks cut, potentially from a serrated edge, which was mentioned in the trial.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I forgot that.
Yeah. I don't think that detail was really disclosed.
Really?
Yeah, because I found that information through reading about
Holy
the
crap.
trial.
Jeez.
But Abby was found fully clothed, but Libby was discovered nude, which is super disturbing. And an unspent .40 caliber bullet was found between both of the bodies. And I know you're probably going to roast me on it's probably not a called a bullet, right?
No, it is. Yeah, no, it's fine. What, is it a casing? Oh, you said unspent.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's round. It's a bullet. Yeah.
But yeah, so it was found between both of the bodies.
Oh, wow.
And foul play was then confirmed by officials.
Yeah, you don't say.
Right.
You don't say.
But
goodness gracious, that's awful.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on February 15th, 2017, the officials, like I said, had confirmed that they had found Abby and Libby, and the police announced that they had found Libby's phone with what they believed to be photos of the suspected killer on the bridge. The Indiana State Police released a photo of a man. Suspicions were raised about a man named Ronald Logan, who owned the property near the crime scene. And Indiana State Police began circulating an image of an individual reportedly seen on the Monon High Bridge trail near where the two friends were slain. The grainy photography appeared to capture a Caucasian male with his hands in his pocket, head down,
yeah,
walking on the rail bridge towards the girls. And then a few days later, the person in the photograph was named the prime suspect in the double homicide. And as for Ronald Logan's home, they searched his property, but no evidence linked him to the crimes.
Okay.
So that was their first real lead, but it was not very long-lived.
Yeah.
But then the next day, on February 16th, 2017, the FBI obtained a search warrant and searched Logan's entire property again, but this time including his computers and cell phone. Mm-hmm. Police did not reveal what items were seized from the home, but Logan, who died in 2020, was never officially named a suspect in the case. So moving on to February 22nd, 2017. On February 22nd, law enforcement released an audio recording obtained from Libby's phone, during which the voice of the suspect, although muffled, is heard to say, "Down the hill."
Down the hill. I do remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that from that episode. Yeah.
Yes. At a news conference, officials credited the source of the audio and imagery to German's smartphone and further regarded her as a hero for having had the presence of mind and fortitude to secretly record the exchange.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Police indicated
Tough
that
girl.
She is, yeah. Yeah. But police indicated that additional evidence from the phone had been secured, but would not release further details so as not to compromise any future trial.
Okay.
By this time, there was a reward that was offered in the case and was set at $41,000 for any information that could lead to a conviction.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and the police say the man is that was in that video is a suspect, and they asked for the public's help identifying him.
Was that government or family providing
That was government.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then an anonymous tip line was receiving about a dozen anonymous tips an hour at that point in the investigation, according to the police. Mm-hmm. So, and that's pretty common, I want to say, with any kind of crime that requires an anonymous tip line.
Yeah.
Everybody wants that money, and they think that they can make up some information or be like, that looks like my cousin.
Yeah.
And it's not
And
their
it's not.
cousin, you know. But July 17th, 2017, the first composite sketch of a suspect was released by the police, and I have that composite sketch for your viewing pleasures, JT. Mm-hmm. Now, this particular one... Hold on.
Oh, okay. He doesn't look super like the
No, I don't think
guy.
so.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think
either.
he looks like that at all, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the sketch was apparently created from an eyewitness account of a hiker on the Delphi historic trails the day the girls vanished. Well, apparently they didn't. If the man that they think it is that they're trying to convict, I don't know if that person really got a good look at him. Yeah. But then on April 22nd, 2019, that was when our next update would occur. And that was 2 years after the event, and no significant developments were made. The case was starting to grow cold. Mm-hmm. And so on that day, Indiana State Police announced a new direction in the case and released a new sketch of the suspect. And they were urging the public to look at the sketch, listen to the audio, watch how the man walks on the bridge, and send tips to a tip line email. I think they were tired of getting calls.
Yeah.
So investigators stated that they had reason to believe that the suspect might be hiding in plain sight and was almost certainly familiar with the Delphi area from living there, working there, or for other reasons, which that is really common in any kind of more organized crime or even,
they're like the New Jersey rapist. He was so familiar with that area because that's where he resided. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Eileen Wuornos did that too. She was familiar with those woods.
With those woods.
Yeah, so she was able to hide bodies a little bit better. But yeah, that's a common occurrence. But I think they were, hoping the public would start like really questioning each other, which is a little divisive. But I mean, if you need to get a conviction, I understand.
Yeah.
But an additional plea was made for help in the identifying of the driver of a vehicle left abandoned off the Hoosier Heartland Highway in Delphi. at the former Child Services offices between noon and 5 p.m. on the day of the murders. Now, that's suspect.
Oh, super suspect.
Yeah. So the updated sketch of the suspect had glaring differences from the original. The updated sketch depicted a younger man with curly hair and no facial hair. So, yes, I don't know how they really got that far off, but
yeah.
I think composite sketches can help if somebody came in contact with that person very up close.
Yeah.
And they were able to retain things. But like it's a lot of times I feel like our brains can add in features that fill holes that from our memory. You know, because like think about how often you're walking around somewhere and you remember very specific details of a random person.
Sure.
It's not very often, at least for me personally. And so that's why I'm like, composite sketches can be helpful at times, but I don't know in this case if it was super helpful.
I remember it was helpful with Rex. What is it? Rex Tillerman. The Long Island.
Yeah, the Long
killer.
Island. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really because it looked a lot like him. I was like, yo, they got that on point.
But wasn't that one they got the information from like a victim who got away or something like that, or what have you? Something along those lines. Yeah, and that would, in my mind, make the most sense for it to, because if somebody's attacking you like this close, that totally makes sense. But on July 23rd, 2019, a suspect who had been wanted for a kidnapping and rape in Tippecanoe County was named as one of the multiple suspects being investigated for the Williams and German murders. According to Carroll County Sheriff Toby Leesenby, Leesenby, I think is how you pronounce his last name. The suspect had died by suicide, though, the previous month on April 27, 2021. Okay. Indiana State Police detectives named another suspect as a new person of interest in the murders after that. So they were kind of pulling straws.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah. On December 6, 2021, law enforcement officials revealed the discovery of a fake online profile named Anthony Schatz that had been communicating with Libby before her death.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so this information to me, there's not a ton about what the interactions were between those particular things, but I feel like it, in my opinion, once the verdict comes out and things like that, we'll get a lot more details. And I think that this could have been a man who was catfishing her and knew where she was going that day to prey on her. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And so I think that might have been a big part of this. But the profile used photos of a male model who was not a person of interest in the case, not the male model, not the person behind the photo. The poor male model is just,
he's just
a
catfish.
Like, yeah. But police were seeking information about the person who created the profile.
Yeah.
And the account was later linked to Keegan Klein in Peru, who admitted to making the fake profile to meet underage girls and receive explicit pictures.
Wow. Okay.
But that is all to say he was in Peru.
So she had a predator after her before this predator came after.
Yes.
What are we doing in this world?
It's super dangerous. It's super online dangerous. And things like that.
It's super dangerous everywhere.
Yeah.
For a young girl. Goodness gracious.
No, it really is. But Keegan Klein was in Peru, so more than likely it was not him. But you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Anywho, moving on to October 19th, 2022. During the first interview with investigators days before he was arrested, Richard Allen was advised of his rights to remain silent and seek the counsel of an attorney, but he kept talking to police. In that interview, Allen is at first cooperative with the questioning of former Delphi Police Chief Steve Mullen.
1 second. Did I miss where they got to Allen?
I couldn't figure out I think it might have been like a tip that he wasn't. This point, he was not arrested. He was just brought in for questioning.
He was brought in for questioning. It could have been a tip.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't really specify how they got to him specifically, and that's probably because, again, when something's in trial, they keep things close to the vest, especially if they think they might have a solid case against someone.
I see.
But yeah, so they were just brought in.
Okay.
He was just brought in, and of course they told him like, hey, at any point, if you want to call for an attorney, you're welcome to do so. So, anyways, at first he was very cooperative with the questioning of the police chief, Steve Mullen. As the interview continued, though, however, he grew more reserved when asked about what he was wearing the day of the killings, which is super suspicious because that's like all they had as evidence at that time. And by the end of the 90-minute session, Allen denied Mullins' request to look around his house after being shown a photograph of Bridge Guy and told police that he believes believe it is him. Later that day, Indiana State Police detectives searched Allen's home, discovering knives, clothing, a bullet, and a gun. The latter item said investigators linked Allen to the crime scene.
Okay.
Because they found that.
Unspent
bullet.
And that was the same caliber as the gun they found?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So ISP also seized Allen's car, a black 2016 Ford Focus, while he watched police search from inside a state trooper's vehicle in his driveway. Allen was told the state would reimburse him for any damage to his house during the search. Allen then reportedly said, "It doesn't matter. It's all over." Now, isn't that something? You know what I mean? Because, like, if you're not guilty, why would you say that? Because I personally, if I was not guilty and the police were wrecking my house, I'd be very mad.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'd be very upset. And I'd be like, yeah, you're going to reimburse me. Like,
yeah.
So what? Oh, and there he is on our screen. A Bridge Guy.
Jury has reached a verdict.
Yes.
Yeah, I got court TV up right now. I'm just like glancing over every once in a while to see if because I really want this to be like live.
Well, Milea said suspicious. It is very suspicious.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, on October 26, 2022, a week later, Allen was told he could retrieve his car, which had been taken in as evidence by ISP. And he was able to retrieve his car at the ISP Lafayette Post. When Allen and his wife arrived, however, Allen's wife was told to wait in the lobby because police had more questions for her husband. Allen continued to answer the questions of Sergeant Jerry Holman, who told jurors he reminded Allen of his right to remain silent. And when Allen was told that an unfired bullet was found at the crime scene came from the gun seized from his house, he admitted nobody else had access to his .40 caliber 6 Sauer.
Okay.
So if nobody else has had access to your gun, then why is the bullet that came from your gun at the crime scene between a nude underage girl and another girl with both throats being slit? That's weird.
Yeah. But there's a lot of 40 calibers,
right? They had to have like something else.
They got it. I mean, that's not a smoking gun, no pun intended. At all. But it's America. Like there's 40 calibers, probably there's multiple within a mile of us right now. Yeah.
So despite that admission, though, Allen denied his involvement in the crime. He also challenged Holman to charge him, but leave his wife out of the investigation. During a break in the interview, Kathy Allen asked her husband how a bullet from his gun could be found at the crime scene. We're all asking that, Allen.
Yeah.
We're all asking that. And Allen said he didn't know. So after that, 50-year-old Richard Allen of Delphi was arrested. He was whisked through his initial court appearance without the presence of an attorney. Allen was subsequently housed in 2 separate county jails before being taken to solitary confinement for his own protection inside a maximum security state prison. After his incarceration, Allen was publicly identified as a suspect. He was eventually assigned 2 attorneys by Special Judge Francis Gull, who was called in by the Indiana Supreme Court to oversee the case following the original Carroll County judge who signed the search warrant for Allen's house and his arrest warrant. He would then appear in court on October 28th.
Okay.
So on October 28th, 2022, Allen was formally charged with 2 counts of felony murder, and he was temporarily taken to the White County Jail, where he was held without bond. His trial originally was scheduled to start March 20th, 2023, but was postponed to allow the defense team to review discovery materials.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, it got pushed all the way to October of 2024. Now, before we get into that, though, we do have some more stuff that happened in between that time. So November 22nd, 2022, should the probable cause affidavit be released? That was the topic of a hearing held by the special judge on November 22nd, 2022. Carroll County Judge Benjamin Diener previously granted a motion from Carroll County Prosecutor Nick McLeland to keep all documents from the public. So I think this particular case, they felt like they had to keep things very close to the vest because it's like razor thin whether or not they're going to get a conviction. So that would be, in my opinion, the only reason why they would keep information from the public.
Sure.
But that's just me personally. And just comparatively to watching Leilani Simon's trial, like they gave the public everything. But also
they knew they had her.
Yeah, they knew they had her. So they were like, Judge Tammy Stokes was like, y'all can have this.
Yeah.
So
look away.
Yeah. But Allen's defense attorney, Andrew Baldwin, said he wanted to make the documents made public due to a lack of evidence.
Okay.
So I think his attorney was thinking this is going to help our cause. But McLeland revealed that he believed others may have been involved in the murders. So that was the big reason. Now, November 28th, 2022, Allen's defense team filed a motion to change the venue of the trial, which was originally scheduled for March 20th, 2023. But it was because of extensive media coverage. So they wanted to be put into a bigger courthouse.
Got it.
And then November 29th, 2022, Special Judge Francis Gull of Allen County issued an order to unseal the probable cause affidavit that led to the suspect's arrest and release that information to the public. According to the redacted document, video footage recovered from German's phone showed one of the victims mentioning gun as a man wearing a dark jacket and jeans approached them and ordered them to go down the hill.
Okay.
Investigators believe the suspect is the man seen in the video. Investigators, like we talked about earlier, had found the .40 caliber unspent round less than 2 feet from the victim's body, but between the two victims. It was later determined that the round came from a gun owned by the suspect. A witness said she saw a man walking away from the bridge wearing a blue-colored jacket and blue jeans and was muddy and bloody.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's exactly the video.
Exactly.
Okay.
And another witness and a tip mentioned that a car was parked oddly and appeared to be parked in a way as if to hide its license plate.
Okay.
Investigators said the description of the vehicle matched a vehicle that the suspect owned in 2017. According to the probable cause affidavit, the suspect was interviewed by police in 2017, and he said he was on the trail that afternoon for around 2 hours. So he put himself on that trail.
Sure.
The document also said that in a subsequent interview in October 2022, the suspect told authorities that he had worn jeans and a black or blue jacket.
Oh, boy.
That day and had gone to the bridge to watch fish.
I mean, I get watching fish. I like watching fish, but that's not what he was doing there. I don't think.
No. Well, especially because he had owned a car that was already in his possession and placed at the scene. He said he was there around that time. He also was wearing an outfit that another witness saw a man wearing that was covered in blood. I feel like personally that's pretty damning evidence.
That's pretty damning.
But on December...
Whoa, jurors found Richard Allen guilty on all 4 counts in murder of Abby and Libby.
Wow.
Here we go. Start from 1 to wicked.
All right, there we go.
He is found guilty.
Very nice.
Goodness gracious.
So on December 2nd, 2022, Judge Gull issued a gag order prohibiting anyone associated with the case from speaking publicly about it until January 2023. The suspect's defense attorneys argued in a motion to move the trial out of Carroll County based on concerns about juror bias due to what the attorneys described as that extensive media attention and the highly publicized nature of the case in the local area.
Okay.
So then on September 18, 2023, in court documents filed on that day, Allen's attorney, Andrew Baldwin and Bradley Rossi, requested a Franks hearing, a court proceeding wherein the court is asked to determine if the police officer lied in obtaining a search warrant.
Okay.
In the 136-page document, the defense claims there is overwhelming evidence in this case that shows members of a pagan Norse religion called Odinism, hijacked by white nationalists, ritualistically, and they believe that they ritualistically, that's a hard word, sacrificed Abby and Libby.
I mean, that would make sense with the slit throats.
Right.
One being naked, one not.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it does seem a little ritualistic, but I don't know.
I haven't heard about Odinism in a million years, but I mean,
we know now that that's not the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Nonetheless, that was a part of their theories. But on October 5th, 2023, law enforcement officials were notified of an evidence leak on that day. Crime scene photos circulated on the internet and were sent to podcasters. Not us, though.
No, we haven't started this podcast.
Yeah.
This is a brand new podcast.
We didn't get sent nothing.
Yeah.
But
wow.
A former employee of Baldwin's law firm, Mitchell Thomas Westerman of Westfield, admitted to taking the photos from the office without permission, according to court documents.
That's got to be a straight felony.
No, it's really bad.
Dude's just trying to catch a felony.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, and especially because
Hope it was
I'm like,
worth it.
right. Well, and that was the thing, and like, I'm like, unless he was trying to get him out of this, because like if you think about it, that's like a tampering with evidence can really hinder a court proceeding and a conviction in general, because if that was any kind of key evidence, then you're screwed.
You're screwed. Yeah, exactly.
But Westerman is now facing criminal charges, as you would imagine. And another man who disseminated the evidence later died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound after being questioned by police.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Judge Gull removed the defense attorneys, citing gross negligence due to the crime scene photos being leaked from their office. The attorney's removal was appealed to the Indiana Supreme Court, in which the justices of the Indiana Supreme Court reinstated the defense attorneys to the case. So, they got removed.
Gotcha.
As you can imagine.
Yeah.
But on October 19th, 2023, a status hearing occurred and did not happen after a status hearing on that day did not happen after Allen was left without counsel. In an Allen County courtroom, Judge Fran Gull announced Allen's defense attorneys, Andrew Baldwin and Brad Rossi, withdrew their representation of Allen before the hearing. And so that was when the attorneys said that the judge forced their withdrawal.
Gotcha.
So then on October 30th, Allen urges the Indiana Supreme Court to review the special judge's decision and reinstate his former attorneys. Then moving on to January of 2024. On Thursday, January 18th, 2024, the Indiana Supreme Court justices heard arguments in the case at the Indiana State House. Allen asked the justices to act on 3 matters: reinstate his former attorneys, replace the judge, and set a speedy trial date within 70 days. And I'm like, who are you to be making these demands? Like, I mean, I get like...
he's asking, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, the way it was written, and that could be just hyperbole, but still.
And he's still innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, exactly.
So...
well, he's obviously not innocent anymore. So.
Not innocent anymore. Nope.
No. Hours after the hearing, the Indiana Supreme Court issued a ruling to reinstate the attorneys, but denied the request to remove the judge. They also set a trial date within 70 days. I understand why they didn't remove the judge, because I personally think the judge was in the right to remove these attorneys because they were negligent in their own office.
Yeah.
So what other evidence are they being negligent with?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised they didn't possibly get their bar removed, like, but nonetheless. So January 29, 2024, prosecutor Mick Leyland files verified information of contemptuous conduct against Baldwin and Rossi, requesting they be held in contempt of violations of the court's order for a press release that was distributed on December 1st, 2022, as well as an email outline of the defense's discovery that was allegedly sent to an individual who is not an attorney on the case, as well as for those crime scene photos that were leaked in October of 2023. So, like I said, they obviously were not being they were being negligent in this case.
Definitely.
And a hearing on the matter had been set for February 12th, 2024 in Allen County. However, it was moved to March 18th at 9 a.m. So on February 7th, 2024, Allen's defense team wanted all charges against Allen to be dismissed. I'm like, don't we all?
Yeah.
When you're in that position.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Obviously it was for the best that he wasn't. The attorneys claim key evidence was destroyed during the investigation. The defense requested video and audio from police interviews, but the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office replied that there are no video or audio of the interviews according to court documents. According to the attorneys, they discovered a letter cataloging evidence. They claim that the letter reads, due to a DVR program error discovered on February 20th, 2017, all recordings up to February 20th, 2017 were recorded over.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so that was sloppy on
That is so
Carroll
sloppy.
County. Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah. Like, how do you do that?
I don't know how you do that. How do you do that? That's crazy.
Well, and especially because it's
That's
like...
almost purposeful.
Right. And that's the thing, is like... I'm like, they had to have labeled those VHSs. So how on earth were they recording over something?
Super strange.
But regardless, also on February 7, 2024, Judge Gull reviewed Baldwin and Rossi's January 28, 2024 motion to disqualify her as a judge in the case, and under advisement and having considered the pleadings, denied the motion without a hearing. Gull cited the Indiana Supreme Court's previous denial of a similar request by the attorneys. A 14-day jury trial was scheduled to begin October 15, 2024.
Heard.
So into the actual trial.
Okay.
So Allen could be sentenced up to 130 years in prison if convicted of all the charges.
No death?
No death was on the table. I don't know if they had the death penalty in Indiana.
Okay.
But
okay. I'll look it up.
But yes, so he was being put up to possibly 130 years in prison if he was convicted of all the charges, the Associated Press said. And considering that he was convicted and said to be guilty on all charges, my guess he probably did get the 130. But during his pretrial detention...
Yeah, Indiana has a death penalty.
Oh, well, they didn't go for it. So... During his pretrial detention at the Westville Correctional Facility in the prison's internal heightened security unit, Allen developed psychosis after 6 months of solitary confinement, according to an Indiana Department of Correction contract psychologist. It was during that mental health crisis that Allen repeatedly confessed to killing Abby and Libby in a prison phone call to his family and again to the psychiatrist.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
With added confidential details after he emerged from the psychosis.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, this is just this is crazy because like everything you're reading to me, like it sounds like he's mega guilty.
Right.
And now that we know he is guilty, like, in the middle of this episode, I saw a bunch of people commenting, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. So I'm like wondering where that comes in.
I think
because
a lot of
I'm hearing is like, I went to the bridge on the same day that they were murdered to look at fish. And I'm like, okay.
So I think a lot of that is coming down to the mishandling of evidence. I think that's...
No. But talking about two girls that are, two little girls, like, nah.
But
nah.
Yeah.
All right.
So over the course of the trial, which began on October 18th, the prosecution highlighted Allen's dozens of confessions while incarcerated. He confessed to the crime more than 60 times, prosecutors say, including to his wife, his mother, the psychologist who treated him, the warden, and other prison employees and inmates.
I think he's trying to sound crazy.
Maybe that might have been
it. Did it? So he's like, they're like, well, we can't do anything with him now. We gotta put him in a mental ward or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like he gets off on insanity.
Yeah.
But he was straight up telling everybody. There was nobody he came in contact with. Like, I'm like, that's a weird flex, dude. But
weird flex.
They played the audio recordings of some of the confessions for the jury. Monica Walla, the former lead psychologist at Westville Correctional Facility where Allen was housed, testified he initially told her he was innocent, but began confessing to the crimes in April 2023, around the time he was placed back on suicide watch. Walla testified that Allen had told her, "I killed Abby and Libby. I'm sorry," according to a CNN affiliate, WTHR. Mm-hmm. He said he originally planned to sexually assault the victims, but ran away when he saw a van nearby, and that he had cut the girls' throats and covered their bodies with sticks.
That's why.
Yeah.
He ran out of...
He ran out of time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why one is naked and one isn't.
Right.
Goodness gracious.
And that came from the psychologist.
Yeah.
She testified that in court.
Okay.
So the defense has sought to paint a portrait of Allen as a mentally ill man whose fragile mental state was exacerbated by months spent in solitary confinement. Including during the time period when he confessed to the crimes. Mm-hmm. Insert the photo of Judge Tammy Stokes, like...
No, she was like, I think wasn't she lowering her glasses, like...
Yeah, she's like, okay.
I love it.
That's me at most of these people when I read about this. But he was twice put on suicide watch while in prison, and he exhibited bizarre behavior such as eating his own feces and banging his head, and was at one point diagnosed with a brief psychotic disorder, according to a testimony from Walla. Mm-hmm. Testifying for the defense, Deanna Dwenger, a clinical psychologist who worked for the Indiana Department of Corrections Behavioral Health Unit, testified Allen was diagnosed with a serious mental illness in April 2023, and that a team of mental health professionals concluded he had a grave disability. And that the defense originally hoped to introduce that Odinism theory as his defense, which I'm like, also, so you're saying that he's also a white supremacist if you're putting it that way, because the Odinism was adopted by white supremacists.
Well, I think they're just saying other people did it, right? Yeah. Like, not him.
No, they're saying that, like, it was, there was a reason, like, it was a religious reason.
Oh, yeah. Okay, like the reason, okay, got it.
Which I'm like, that doesn't, I don't care what religion you have, you don't get to kill people.
Yeah, exactly.
Sucks. Anyways. But Judge Gull repeatedly rejected motions to introduce this theory. Good on you.
Yeah.
Despite Allen's confessions, very little physical evidence tied him to the case. A DNA expert testified for the state that they found none of Allen's DNA at the crime scene, and none of Libby or Abby's DNA was found on items recovered from his home.
So were they sexually assaulted?
No.
Okay, because the van.
Yes.
Got it. And he cut him and then left.
Yes.
Okay. So he didn't have a chance to leave DNA.
Exactly.
And okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Heard.
And so prosecutors drew the attention to the .40 caliber unspent round found by the girls' bodies, which a prosecution expert testified matched Allen's pistol. The defense cast doubt on the bullet evidence, questioning why more images were not taken of the cartridge, and suggesting the bullet could have come from a law enforcement officer's weapon, which I'm like,
huh?
That's such a stupid theory.
Unless it's like a round they only give out to law enforcement, maybe?
I mean,
like, why would that be a thing?
it's a .40 caliber round and they were saying it was from his 6 hours. So like, officers don't carry that.
How would they know that it was from his 6 hours? There's just one missing and the rest are
maybe.
Yeah,
but that was just all
right.
That's what the crime scene analyst.
All right, we'll trust
testified.
the crime scene analyst then.
But the prosecution has also tried to match Allen with the video and audio recording of Bridge Guy, which was captured on Libby's cell phone. So Indiana State Police Master Trooper Brian Harshman, who said he listened to more than 700 of Allen's prison phone calls, testified for the prosecution that, in his opinion, the voice of the Bridge Guy is the voice of Richard Allen.
Okay.
Richard Allen is Bridge Guy, McLeland told jurors. He kidnapped them and later murdered them. In response, Brad Rossi said that Allen wasn't clearly identified by witnesses as the man on the hiking trail or the bridge when the teenagers went missing. His attorney is just an absolute moron, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like they're really reaching.
They're reaching.
Like, how are you going to have two officers say, like, I've listened to this man's voice for 700 calls. I know what he sounds like.
All they got, though, Madison, is that they don't have DNA. That's all they have.
Right.
So I don't know if he's a moron or is he just like, this is what I got. Let's try this. Because that's all I can try.
I guess so. Yeah. But they were trying to say that he wasn't clearly identified by witnesses.
Sure,
and I'm like,
all right.
Okay. Well,
it's what they have.
Yeah. So he also pointed out that Allen still lived in Delphi for more than 5 years after the girls were killed. He had every chance to run, but he did not because he didn't do it, Rossi told jurors. Which I'm like, let us think about this.
Yeah.
If he was that sloppy with his execution where he panicked because a van pulled up and he slit these girls' throats, he doesn't want to draw any more attention to him because I'm assuming Delphi isn't that big.
No.
I've never been, but I'm assuming it's not huge.
Yeah.
So if somebody catches wind, like, oh, Richard Allen skipped town immediately after that.
Exactly.
Isn't that weird?
That's more.
Yeah, it makes more sense for him to stay put and be like, I'm a family man.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. Did you mention if he had any priors or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No. But we'll talk some more
about that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So
I always jump the gun.
Yeah.
Gun jumping. That's me.
Mm-hmm. But the 12-person jury, which began deliberations Thursday, November 7th, 2024, deliberated for 4.5 hours, and same for that following Saturday at Carroll County Courthouse before departing for the day, WTHR reported. Jurors were said to deliberate from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Saturday, until they reach a verdict, according to that same news outlet. Last month, 16 Allen County residents were selected to serve on the jury, including 4 people serving as alternates. Allen County Superior Court Judge Francis Gull gave the jurors their final instructions Thursday morning and urged them to consider the facts before Carroll County Prosecutor Nick McLeland delivered closing arguments, walking the jury through the evidence and testimony presented during the trial. I believe the evidence is firmly convincing that Richard Allen is Bridge Guy and he killed Abby and Libby, McLeland told the jury. McLeland showed jurors graphic photos of the girls' bodies, a video of the suspect taken from Libby's smartphone that he said captured the final moments of the girls' lives, and a recording of Allen purportedly confessing to his wife during a phone call. I did it. Allen could be heard telling his wife, I killed Abby and Libby.
He said, I did it. Yeah, he did do it.
Defense attorney Brad Rossi, in closing arguments, said a broken timeline, false confession, and a lack of DNA or weapons evidence should lead to acquittal. The defense trusts what you've heard over the past several weeks is more important than what you're hearing today, Rossi told the jury Thursday. The defense further argued no physical evidence ties Allen to the killings and said confessions he made in the past were involuntary and stemmed from being in solitary confinement for months.
Yeah, that's what they have is no physical evidence.
And he had no prior convictions. So that is
no prior convictions. Really?
Unless he hasn't been caught for something, but you never know.
So that's why people were saying not guilty. Is you have a lack of physical evidence, no prior convictions. Usually that would stem a not guilty verdict.
Right.
You know, especially the no physical evidence.
Well, and so here's the thing. So this is how I took it, where it's, think about it. He only wanted to sexually assault these girls, which I know, bear with me, I know that sounds disgusting, and it is. But he wasn't going out there specifically to murder them. I feel like he probably has done this in the past, but he let the children go.
Kids go.
And that's why he hasn't been caught. Because a lot of times when that happens, kids are too afraid to come forward and tell somebody what happened to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so even if it's only been 1 or 2 times, I feel like he had to have done this before. And this was the first time he actually ended up killing them because he was like, oh, shoot, I can't get caught doing this.
So you're saying that he's in the van's pulling up. He's looking down at the girl. He's got one naked, one not. And then he freaks out and he probably thinks they're going to run right to this van. I'm in the vicinity. Yes. I'm going to get caught. They're going to be going through the woods.
Right.
And they're going to find me. Or I kill them right now and he potentially has never killed any child before.
Right.
And then runs away knowing that at least they can't say anything.
Right.
Okay.
And that
that's an interesting picture. Do we know if this was impulsive or not, or are we just
no?
Okay.
He said he went out there to sexually assault. So
did he target them?
He probably saw them in the vicinity.
No. I mean, like, did he target them, like, knowing they were going to be there?
No.
Okay.
No, there's no evidence to show that.
Thing.
Yeah.
Got it. He wasn't out there, like, lurking for them specifically.
Yeah.
It was just like...
It was like a crime of opportunity.
Okay, it's a crime of opportunity. And, that's...
And that's why I say... So that whole theory I just divulged... No evidence, no basis for that necessarily besides just,
speculating, but
speculating.
Not a bad speculation, babe.
Yeah, just based off of other criminals who do similar things and how they maneuvered in that sort of situation. It just feels like that could be a possibility.
It's a hard one, y'all.
Right?
Because I agree with you on your speculation. Obviously, it is brutal to sexually assault a child. And so when I'm looking at my brutality here,
right.
He's not getting under a 5 for it, obviously.
I completely agree.
So it's brutal. But the throat slit, that immediate, when you told me in the beginning, I was like, oh, he had his way and then enjoyed slicing their throats wide open, and that is so freaking brutal. I mean, he wasn't even going to get under an 8 or 9 for brutality for me. But now that I know it's like oh crap, someone's coming. What do I do? Oh no, I got to do this. Boom, and he does it. It's still brutal, but it's not as brutal as like him like wanting to like get, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like enjoy it for a really long time and all of that stuff and like torture them. I mean, he did torture them, but you know what I mean.
Right.
I'm going to give him everything tells me like it should be higher, but I'm going to give him a 7.5 just because he wasn't like, this wasn't something that he was doing for a period of time. This was most likely an impulsive decision.
Right.
That's why. It's tough.
Yeah, it's really tough,
Yikes.
especially because of the fact that there isn't super clear reasoning behind this, and we don't know if he's been doing this before.
Exactly.
You know?
I mean, his motive is obviously sexual sadism.
Yes.
Which, whenever we cover these, we've done what now, 6 episodes?
Yeah.
The majority of them have been sexual sadists. And it's like that's usually like the only motive they have is like because they wanted to hurt these people
Right.
sexually for their own pleasure.
Yeah.
And so, so I'm gonna say with motive, I'm gonna give him a 6 because it's just that I'm not gonna call it like basic sexual sadism because none of that is basic, but yeah, I mean, it's there's not multiple things going, like he's not robbing people, he's not doing, like there's not multiple reasons why, it's just sexual sadism,
right.
It seems like, and impulsive at that.
Exactly.
So, so for motive that, for premeditation, I gave him a 3, solely off of the fact I don't know if he was out in the woods.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, you gave him okay. So I didn't know if he was out in those woods. I'd have gave him a 1 because it sounds like it was not premeditated at all. It sounds like it's like, okay, this is a crime of opportunity.
Yeah.
But but he might have been out there with a plan, with a rough plan.
Right.
To like, if this happens, this is what I'm gonna do.
Right.
Right. Difficulty of investigation, a 2, because mainly because it was just super sloppy, super disorganized. If he did this before, I just have no idea how he got away with it.
Right, right.
Because, this was, like, ridiculous. And I think that if the van didn't pull up and he raped and murdered them, I think they would have got him, like, the moment that they arrested him. Like, they would have, they would have arrested him the moment that the day of the crime scene.
Right, exactly.
They would have immediately found him.
Exactly.
Because I think he's just that sloppy.
Yeah, and it sounds like it,
Yeah, and then body count. I'm gonna give him a 4, solely off the fact that it was 2 at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't like 1 and then 1 and then 1.
Yeah, I think we're in pretty fair agreement on most of these.
Yep. Y'all go ahead and put your numbers in.
Yeah.
Put your numbers in, Parajunkies.
Yes. I gave him a 7 for brutality for very similar regards.
Okay.
Yeah, because it did lessen some of the brutality because luckily he didn't get around to actually sexually assaulting the girls. It's just, they died in intense fear. And the throat slitting is never going to be a comfortable death. And
it's horrible.
Yeah,
it's horrid.
Yeah. So
he's an animal. For sure.
So it's I gave him a 7. I felt like that was a pretty fair rating on that. Premeditation, I also gave him a 3 because I wanted to give him a 1 because I wanted to think like he literally just showed up and was like, well, I'm gonna go do it. But a part of me was because he said that he wanted to sexually assault in an interview. A part of me was like, okay, so he knows that young kids hang out here. And he picked this spot on purpose.
Yes.
Didn't know who he was going to do it to.
That's a good point.
But he
picked that spot on purpose because he knew kids were going to be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But I still feel like that's a 3, in my opinion. Motive, though, I gave him a 5 just because I want to say, it's not super clear his full motive. And we don't know if he has killed before. Like if he actually wanted to sexually assault these girls and kill them and just didn't get around to one of them. And if that is like his MO, which is a very common MO for people who commit similar crimes, and if that were the case, if I had a little bit more basis to believe that, his MO would have been higher, in my opinion. But,
definitely.
So
definitely. Y'all go ahead and get your numbers in. I got the numbers that I have put in.
And then for difficulty of investigation, I actually gave it a 4. And the only reason why I gave it a little bit higher than what you gave is because it took multiple years for them to even get around to figuring him out.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
No, that's fair. That's fair.
So obviously he had to do something a little bit, right? Even though it was very, very sloppy. He had to do something a little right for it to take them like almost 2 or 3 years to even get him in questioning. So,
sure.
And more than likely, now, again, there is no basis for this because they didn't release any of the tips or anything like that because they were anonymous. But if they're going off of a tip, more than likely, if he was going around willy-nilly telling people all the time that he killed those girls in a psychotic state, who's to say he didn't tell somebody else that in a psychotic state?
Yeah.
And they sent in a tip. And that was what got him. Because they are right. They didn't have any evidence on the bodies or in his home linking him to this crime, so something had to.
Yeah.
And probably because he was a big mouth. Probably was that. And body count, I gave it a 4 as well. Because obviously you're always going to get a little bit higher if you are committing these crimes against children. But yeah, and I think that is fair for committing something like a crime against children at the same time.
Yeah.
And like we said in past episodes, with body count especially, it gets a little wonky because we do have to reserve those high rankings, like those 10s and 9.5s for people who were doing like Samuel Little, for instance, or like things like that.
Who do really, we should do Samuel Little soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
all right. Well, if that's everybody, I have all the numbers put in. Let's see. He gets a. Hold on. He gets a 5.14.
5.14. Yeah, and I feel like my rankings would be higher if we had more clear indication of him as a criminal.
Oh, we had a number added. Hold on.
Oh.
Hold on.
Scratch that.
Yeah.
1 second, y'all, and we will give you that final number. But yeah, and I'm glad to hear he got convicted. I'm glad that the families of the girls are going to get some level of comfort knowing that man is going to rot.
5.25.
5.25.
Yeah. He is going to rot.
And our TV is gone.
That's all right.
All right,
it's
then.
Probably screensaver.
Yeah. Alrighty, y'all. But yeah, so if you are listening to this on Spotify or YouTube, like we said at the beginning, go ahead and comment down below what you feel like you would rank this on a scale from 1 to wicked. You can break it down the way that we do, or you can just give us your total number. But yeah, honestly, Richard Allen, I hope you have a horrible time in prison. I hope you... What was that thing we were watching the other night where she's like, I hope he has nightmares about it. Yeah. I hope you have nightmares about it.
I hope you have nightmares about it.
Because you know what? I hope you get no sleep after this.
I was actually thinking, that was the, anyway.
Yeah.
This might have been the only podcast that started not knowing if he was guilty or not guilty.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of the episode
finding out
that he was guilty. That's actually pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. Well, cool. All right.
Alrighty, so thank you all so much for listening to today's episode. Also, comment down below if there's any case or killer or what have you that you want us to rank on that scale from 1 to wicked. Leave it down below and maybe we'll cover it.
Yep.
I have a feeling we're going to probably do Samuel Little soon because now that I've said it, I'm like, yeah,
we should do Samuel Little. And don't forget to check out our podcast, The Most Haunted City on Earth, if you like ghosts.
Yes. So, with that though, my name is Madison Timmons.
And I'm JT Timmons.
And don't forget, next time you're walking down the street, you might just be passing a perfect 10.